Hollywood romances end for all kinds of reasons, sometimes due to tragedy. These celebs quickly managed to find love after loss, and some even made headlines as a result. Patton Oswalt's world was abruptly shattered when his first wife, writer Michelle McNamara, died in her sleep on April 21, 2016. In a statement given to the Associated Press, Oswalt said, "We learned today the combination of drugs in Michelle's system, along with a condition we were unaware of, proved lethal." In a moving essay, Oswalt posted about his late wife on Facebook a year after her death. He shared, "We think of her every day. She's still so tied into our worlds, in a way that's encouraging and energizing." A year and a few months later, actor Meredith Salinger announced she was engaged to Oswalt and expressed her affection for his daughter by tweeting, "It's official. I'm the luckiest, happiest girl in the universe. I love you, Patton Oswalt. I love you, Alice Oswalt." Some online said they were happy for the King of Queens star, but others weren't as positive. Oswalt shot back at his critics while responding to a post that was written by blogger Erica Roman, whose husband died just 3 days before McNamara. "Wow, thank you for this, Erica. I'd chosen to ignore the grub worms, but your writing is just so good here." Oswalt and Salinger were married on November 4, 2017 in Los Angeles. In the late 90s, Nigella Lawson went from freelance journalist to superstar food writer, but less than a decade before she put out her first book, How to Eat, she wed journalist John Diamond. They got married in 1992 in Venice, Italy, after meeting each other 3 years earlier at the Telegraph. Nigella once told BBC Radio, "I was a journalist. Not a food journalist, but I did do quite a bit of cooking. As a consequence, I cooked for editors quite a bit. John, my late husband, said to me, 'You always talk about food in this really confident way. You should write about it.' So I did." Sadly, Diamond was diagnosed with throat cancer in 1997, and he passed away in 2001 at the age of 47. In an interview with The Guardian, Lawson said, "Writing about food when you're married to someone who can't eat? That was odd, but I suppose it was about clutching onto life, really." 2 years after Diamond's death, Lawson married art dealer Charles Saatchi. They split in 2013, but not before their relationship made headlines, like when Saatchi was seen choking Lawson while they dined at a restaurant in London. In 2018, Lawson shared a touching thought about Diamond, tweeting, "This time, 20 years ago, I was at the launch party for my first book, How to Eat. Looking at this photo makes me happy, but also very sad. I wish I could be in John's arms now." For those of a certain age, March 9, 1997 will probably be forever etched into their memories. That was the day Christopher Wallace, aka the Notorious B.I.G., was shot and killed in Los Angeles in a drive-by shooting. At the time, he was separated from his wife, R&B singer Faith Evans, but their divorce wasn't official, according to Hot New Hip Hop. 1 year before B.I.G.'s death, he and Evans had a son together, Christopher Wallace Jr. Evans then married artist manager and music producer Todd Rasa in 1998. She was introduced to him by legendary rapper and producer Missy Elliott. The former couple had 2 kids before ultimately splitting up in 2011. In 1995, one could say that actor Stanley Tucci had it all. He was already an established actor, landing parts in hit films like The Pelican Brief. Things in his personal life seemed to be going well too. That year, he married social worker Catherine Spath Tucci. They went on to welcome 3 children into the world. In 2006, Spath Tucci was diagnosed with breast cancer, and 3 years later, she died at the age of 47.
You never stop grieving. And it's still hard after 11 years.
Noting that the loss will always be difficult, he said she wouldn't want either him or their children to wallow in that pain. 2 years after his wife's death, Tucci got engaged to literary agent Felicity Blunt, who's the sister of actor Emily Blunt. As he shared in The Times, he, quote, "panicked instantly after he popped the question." He said, "You always feel guilty." Tucci and Felicity were married in 2012 and have 2 children together. They were introduced by Emily on the set of The Devil Wears Prada, which Emily co-starred in with Tucci. Get this, in February 2021, while on the WTF with Mark Maron podcast, Tucci revealed that his late wife actually met Felicity at The Devil Wears Prada premiere in 2006. Famed singer and actor Roy Rogers married his first wife, Grace Arlene Wilkins, in 1936. Wilkins died in 1946 from complications related to childbirth. In a 1953 Guideposts article, Rogers said, When my wife died during the birth of our third child, I was faced with a demanding career and the responsibilities of raising 3 fine children. Rogers went on to reconnect with fellow singer Dale Evans in Atlantic City. They'd first gotten to know each other while working together in the 1944 film Cowboy and the Senorita, and they eventually started working together again. As he said in guideposts, after he obtained the unanimous approval of his 3 kids, Rogers and Evans tied the knot on December 31st, 1947. They stayed together until Rogers' death in 1998. Evans died in 2001 of congestive heart failure. In an interview featured in Happy Trails Theater, Evans admitted, "Before I married Roy, I suddenly got frightened about what I was going to do. And I wasn't really sure that I can bring it off with 3 children. And I went into a closet and I prayed, and I promised God that if he would help me in this marriage, there would never be a divorce under any circumstances, because I wanted to be a mother to these children." Rogers and Evans went on to add 5 more children to their family. Elizabeth Taylor's third husband, stage and film producer Mike Todd, died when his plane, the Lucky Liz, crashed in Grants, New Mexico in March of 1958. 14 months later, Taylor married singer Eddie Fisher, which set off a Hollywood scandal that would go down in history. Before Taylor, Fisher was married to fellow movie star Debbie Reynolds, and they were one of the most popular couples of their day. But here's the thing, as Reynolds told People, she and Taylor were longtime friends. They were young actors in high school, and what's more, Fisher was reportedly best friends with Todd. Plus, Reynolds was the matron of honor when Taylor and Todd got married, and Fisher was Todd's best man. Still following? Reynolds spoke about the love triangle with People in 1983 and gave a theory as to why Taylor and Fisher married. "You know, when Mike Todd died, I sent Eddie to help Elizabeth. I don't think she ever really loved Eddie. He was an interim interest during her mourning period." But the 2 old pals made up years later on a cruise ship, with Reynolds telling HuffPost, "I sent a note to her, and she sent a note to me in passing. And then we had dinner together. We just said, let's call it a day, and we got smashed. We had a great evening, and stayed friends since then."
I think she's doing great. I think she looks great, and everybody's for a survivor.
In 1933, Jean Harlow, often called America's first blonde bombshell, married her third husband, Harold Rawson. An accomplished cinematographer, Rawson's extensive body of work includes a little motion picture called The Wizard of Oz. The year before she tied the knot with Rawson, Harlow walked down the aisle with filmmaker Paul Byrne in 1932. 2 months after their wedding day, Byrne died. His death was ruled a suicide. At the time of his passing, and while he was married to Harlow, Byrne was also married to a woman named Dorothy Millett. Byrne reportedly stayed in contact with Millett and helped her out financially. Days after Byrne died, Millett committed suicide as well. As for Harlow's marriage to Rawson, the Nashua Telegraph reported they married in an airplane elopement while flying to Yuma, Arizona.
"Get ready for a big surprise. I'm going to be married."
Harlow told the Pittsburgh Press, "Hal had stood staunchly beside me through my sorrow and tragedy. We had played together, worked together, and I believed that I had found the perfect companionship of which every girl dreams." The 2 would divorce in 1935. 2 years later, Harlow died in Los Angeles at age 26 from kidney disease. The late film and stage star Henry Fonda married 5 times, which by Hollywood standards certainly isn't the strangest thing in the world. But what could be considered controversial is that he tied the knot quickly after becoming a widower. Henry's second wife, Frances Ford Seymour, took her own life at age 42. The couple had 2 children together during their marriage, Jane Fonda and Peter Fonda, who of course became famous actors in their own right. Just months after Seymour's death, Henry married theater producer Susan Blanchard, a woman 21 years his junior who he was having an affair with. He reportedly asked Seymour for a divorce in 1949 so he could marry Blanchard, but that marriage didn't last beyond 5 years. Peter talked about the split between his father and his much younger ex while speaking to Express in 2014, saying, "I was 15 and she was 27 when she left. She said, 'I'm young. I want to dance and tell jokes. I need to cut loose.' And I knew exactly what she meant." If you or anyone you know is having suicidal thoughts, please call or chat online with the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK 8255.